This is Summit Point in the MX-5 on iRacing. Let's jump into this tutorial, see if we can help you guys get a little bit quicker on this track. Here entering turn one of the things that I think is super crucial, and we can back this up, but it is you're using full threshold braking. You can brake very deep. So one of the things that I notice, a lot of people make some mistakes here. You're braking around the 3 board. To me, I'm braking almost near the 2, so we're going to go right about to here, just as we're entering about the 2 board. So halfway between the 2 and the 3, you start to threshold brake. And one of the things that I think a lot of people make one of the mistakes I see people make here is that they sort of dive to the inside curb, and a lot of people are hitting that curb. They're cutting the corner and making it very tight. And if you notice this corner, if you look at the map, what we really want to do is sort of brake in a straight line and then V off this exit. So as you're going here, you're braking very straight, slowing the car down, a lot of rotation on entry, so you can see a little bit of counter steering as I'm calling for a lot of trail braking through here. So at this point, we're at just about 100% brake, asking for a lot of rotation. The car's snapping back to the left, and you just want to barely kiss this curb or just avoid it. And the goal at the exit of this corner is to roll into the throttle without having wheel spin, without having the back step out. So right here, you see me roll into it flat as soon as I can. And now we're sort of cutting distance all the way up to turn 3. Turn 3, I think, is one of the more complicated corners on this track. So you're going to brake just past this curb here. So you can see this access road. You're braking just about at the end of this. And what you're going to do is you're going to carry a very light amount of brake. And what you're doing here is you're adding trail braking, you're shifting the weight to the front tires, trying to create front grip. So as you brake and as you drag that brake, you put more weight over the front end of the car, and that helps you get a little bit more turn in than you would be able to get otherwise. So you can see dragging that brake a little bit, back on throttle all the way up to the gravel, trying not to use too much gravel because you can get a 1X there. Through here, you can do a tiny bit of a lift or stay flat. You just don't really want to hit that curb too much. Now, one thing that I will say as well, this corner, turn 5, is pretty much where, when you're going for a qualifying lap and you're doing lap after lap, this is where you throw away almost all of your good laps. In my opinion, this corner is all about very heavy threshold braking, but if you look at the track, you're actually going downhill, so your threshold braking is not quite going to be 100%. So you can see I'm at 80-90%, and you can see me start to trail that off. So this is going to be very heavy trail braking, a lot of rotation, and in my opinion, a lot of patience on corner exit. So let's back up and try to find what your reference points for this corner are, because you're coming in flat, you're coming in hot. For me, I like to brake a little bit before this tree goes off the edge of my center monitor. I know it's not a great reference point, and it's just one of those challenges. The other thing that I will say is sometimes it can help to lift a little bit to get your car just back over around the center line here. You just don't necessarily want to be braking all the way on the left side of the track. It makes the corner a lot tighter than it has to be, but it's also unrealistic to give up so much speed through 4 that your car's all the way over on the right side of the circuit. So you're going to be braking roughly around the middle of the track, getting that rotation done, rotate, slowly onto the throttle, back flat. I personally like to stay in first here because every time I would go to second gear, back down to first, the downshift would upset the car. So I am hitting the limiter. For me, that's quicker. And through turn 6, this begins the whole complex, in my opinion, for 6, 7, 8, 9. This is all to be treated effectively as one corner. This is all about one thing specifically, which is entering here, going through 6. It's going to be about trail braking, getting the rotation done, and then all about listening to the front tires. And one thing that I do highly recommend is that you actually do this, go into your options, change your sound settings, and turn up tire noise. So I have a lot of my main volume turned down, but one of the things that I do have turned all the way up would be tire noise. So as you see here, most of my volume is turned down, but tires are fully maxed out. So this is something that I would recommend doing for this track. And the reason for that is as you're going through this, when you start to hear the front tires giving up, you know not to keep cranking on more steering lock, because it's not going to make you turn more. All it's going to do is overheat your tires and make every subsequent corner and lap worse. So that's a huge tip for this track that I think will help a lot of people. Listen to your tires and try to maintain momentum through all of this. So let's rewind a tiny bit. So as we said, we're back on the throttle. Get car. You want to get the car all the way back over to the left here. So just to give you an idea, we're pretty much touching this gravel, this grass here. You could even get a tiny bit further over, but you do want to do that to open this corner up. Going into this, very, very small trail brake, and I'm holding it throughout the corner to get rotation. Through this whole complex, I do a tiny bit of a lift to get the car back over to the right, back to the left, position the car all the way to the left, and you want to flick it early enough that you're going to be able to kiss this curb and run all the way out. We're looking for this piece of grass right here. That's what we're aiming for. None of that's a 1X. So let's take a look at that again and try to break this down a bit. So as we're going through here, as I said, tiny bit of rotation all the way through. Now we're rolling back into the throttle, and here, if I stay flat, what is going to happen is I'm going to end up all the way over here, and then I can't carry all the momentum through this corner. And what eventually happens is you become late for the first corner, you become later for the second corner, and then extremely late for the final corner. So you're going into 7, you're late. You're late into 8. Now you're late into 9, and now you're either using the brakes, lifting, or sailing off the track and falling into the woods. So the big thing here is it's about maintaining as much speed as you can. You can see I had to give up a tiny bit. I'll rewind it a bit on the telemetry. I had to give up a little bit right here to make sure I can position the car far enough left to get my car over to the left of the track so I can carry a flat out speed without jumping that car too crazy, using all of the runoff so I'm not scrubbing the front tires. One of the mistakes people make is they turn too much with the front of the car because they're trying to compensate for being late in the previous corner, and you can hear the tires screaming, and it's overheating the tires, and it's making you slower. Going into 10, I think this is also a very tricky corner, and what you'll see is it's kind of a very spiky brake reference. A flick into the corner, roll back into the throttle, and use all of the road. Now, when I look for a reference here, this is a weird reference, but this little patch of gravel right here, that's my braking mark. So I go in a little bit heavy with a flick, and then you trail brake, and you can see me kind of counter steering back. So right here, you can see the wheel go left, left, left. So what we're doing is we're asking for rotation through this. So we go in, hit the brake, ask for the rotation, counter steer, roll into the throttle, and flat as soon as we're able to make it, touch that gravel, and you see that I'm not forcing the wheel back to the right. I'm letting the car carry out naturally all the way to the curb. So I do want to point out that there are 3 big techniques at this track that I want to go over. And then what I'll do after that, I will put up an uninterrupted lap that you guys can watch or skip to if you need to. So for me, I think turn 1 and turn 5, those are 2 areas where you need really, really aggressive threshold braking and heavy trail braking throughout. And what that does is it helps you stop as late as possible. It helps you rotate the car through the apex of the corner. So I think T1 and T5 are different in a couple of ways. Turn 1, I feel, is much more prone to being a corner that I think in turn 1, it's a corner that you can deep brake a lot more and then V off that exit. Whereas turn 5, you're a little bit better off braking a hair earlier than you think. Give up a little bit of speed there. Don't overdo it, because if you overdo it, you're going to lose 2-3 tenths on that corner because the exit doesn't matter quite as much since it's such a short corner. The other one, as I mentioned before, play with your audio settings through turns 6 through 9. It's all about carrying momentum, listening to your front tires, and honestly just not getting late to the point where you set yourself up poorly for the next corner. The final thing is turn 10. I think that's a corner that a lot of people have issues with. And for me, I like to avoid that curb. Don't hit that curb. Don't jump it. And just be very patient through that corner. Don't stomp right on the gas and push wide into the gravel. Roll back into it and then be flat as soon as you can. Use all of the road right out to the gravel. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like the video, comment if you have any questions, subscribe if you want to see more of these. And here is a full lap, no talking, no interruptions. I appreciate it.